Hello all. Yes, this is another Business Central installation video. This is based on a request which came on YouTube, and what I was doing is I was trying to set up a Azure server with Business Central for some of my scenario testing, and I thought, why not answer that question while I'm doing that? So, if you know about installation, which you have already talked about in Business Central 2022, feel free to drop from this video. If you think that you will learn something out of it, it is a completely fresh Azure server where there is SQL Server Manager installed, but no SQL even. So I'll be using the demo installation completely and running through that. So if it makes sense, stay with me. Otherwise, I'll see you in another video. Let's get started. First thing first, we have already talked about it. You go to somewhere in my blog, and then there is a download link, I guess, here. Download 2023 release wave 1 or any other version that you want. You get to this link where you can download the product DVD based on your requirement or your country or region. Once you are done with that, make sure to extract it with a different name, which is a smaller, like in this case, and as near to the root path. So like in this scenario, I'm using it on D drive with a smaller folder name called BC22, and there's a reason behind it. I guess I have talked about it so many times, so I'll not waste time into it. Then let's head up and start the setup.exe. Let's run it as administrator, and let's wait for this to pop up. Now what we are going to do right now is first we are going to install just the SQL component. So if you don't have installed anything, and you might have SQL Server installed, but you will have to go through some of the steps. So I'm accepting the license, choosing the advanced installation option, and then choose an installation option. In this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the server, which does not include SQL Server. So let's go into developer and let's customize this. So on this machine where my SQL Server is, I don't need the server typically. I don't need the web server component. I just need the SQL Server database component. Now remember this. You can even skip the demo database if you already have a database. It's up to you. But you should install the SQL Server component, whatever is needed for that. In the scenario where I'm in right now, I don't have a SQL Server. So the DVD or the installation will install an express version of SQL for me. And remember, I have unselected the demo database installation. So I'll hit next. I have to give nothing other than the SQL Server instance name, which if you have, it'll by default become MS SQL Server, which is the default instance if you have it. For this demo, I'll use it as BC demo as my SQL Server instance because I don't have a SQL Server installed. I just had the Management Studio installed. So if you have SQL Server instance, just keep it blank or give the instance name and hit apply. And it says that this instance is not found and a new instance will be created and a compatible SQL Server. If it is not found, then it will install the SQL Express, and I'm okay with that. So if you have the SQL Server installed, that's okay, but still install the SQL Server database component because there might be some assemblies which are required to connect your database with your middle tier or service tier. So don't just skip it. If you have it, you can skip the demo database. If you don't want it, you can restore it later if needed, and I'll do that after the installation of SQL Server Express. So I'll pause the video and we'll see as it moves forward because this may take a little bit time. Okay, so it seems that the installation of the Business Central component that we selected is over. Let's hit close. Let's go to our SQL Server and try to log in. I don't see any server here. Let me check. Oh, I see it now. So the server is called PC demo and I should be able to get into it. but I'm not because okay, it is not enabled. Okay, let me see if there is any authentication that's remaining. Okay, configuration manager, SQL Server services, okay, client protocol, everything enabled, networking component. Oh, TCP IP disable. Let's do it. Yes, apply. And I'm not sure, but I'll also do this. Okay, configuration, client protocol, everything enable, and let's head up and restart the service. Okay. So now, if everything looks good, we should be able to get into the environment. Otherwise, I might have to choose a different authentication if it's enabled. I am not sure what is there. Okay, that's done. Let's try again, and it does not. Okay, so let me try using my username and password because I don't have a domain on this. This is just my username and password, which is Jamo slash username and my password. Okay, doesn't seem to like that. Doesn't like that. Okay, is that an essay without a password? It would have configured something for sure. I just need to figure that out. Okay. Let me check that. What's happening here? Oh, it did allow me for some reason. I didn't have to do anything. I just changed it to Windows Authentication back and it did allow me. So now if you look at it, there is no database. So just for assumption that you already have a database, I'll just restore the demo database from the product DVD. And where is the demo database? It's on my D drive, PC22, product DVD. There is a SQL demo database folder. Inside that, there should be a, it's pretty deep inside that. But okay, here is my database. And let's assume the database is called demo BC22. That's it. If you want to place a file somewhere, and I know you guys know it, if you don't, let me know how to restore a database and all, and we can go through the steps of it. But at this time, what you have done is, let's assume you already have a SQL Server installed and you just restored the demo database into it called demo BC22. Now let's head up and try running the setup again. Now I'm doing it on the same machine, but assume at this point that you are going into a different machine, which is your service tier. You don't see the maintenance option. You see the same installation option where you accept the license, you choose customize, and when you choose customize, you come to this page again. At this point, what I'm going to install is the middle tier or the service tier of it. So what I enable now is the server, and I say run that from my machine, which will install the middle tier, which is the service folder into my system. So if I'm not wrong, I should be able to go into my C program files, Microsoft. There is no Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central folder here at this moment. But as soon as we hit next, and this is the folder where we'll be creating the service, this will be the service name. Just FYI, you can change it if needed. Okay? It's not supposed to be BC220 or BC210. You can change it if needed. This is the account that will be used for running the service. And if it's a different account other than network service, specify your password and then define your ports. We have talked about ports so many times, so I'm not going into that. You can watch other videos about it that I have. And at this moment, I'm just going to add these client rule to my firewall access. Here, now at this point, you need to copy your SQL Server setting into your installation media. Your SQL Server can be called localhost or not localhost for sure. The name of the machine where your SQL Server is installed is your SQL Server, which is in this case demo. The instance, if it is blank, if it is the default instance, you can keep it blank. In a production environment, I'm pretty sure you don't have an instance, and maybe you do. So if it's an instance, you see it something like this. And then what is the database name inside that is demo bc22. So here it is, demo bc22. So three properties for SQL Server database connection. One is the SQL Server name, one is the instance, and apps optional, and then the database name. And just to make it uh, explanation or easier, what I'll do is I'll also change the service name. My service name will be called demo bc22. So what's going to happen? A new service will be created called demo, and the instance name will be demo bc22, and which will be pointing to a database or my SQL Server demo with my in my instance bc demo, and the database name is demo bc22. And I'll hit apply and start installing the component that are needed to set up and install my middle tier or the service tier. So at the end of it, once it is done, we should be able to see a new folder here, and let me refresh it. Maybe it's already here. It's not yet here. Oh, it's here now. PC220 service, and then the service is being created. And once it gets created, which is done, we can see the custom setting.config file just to verify the instance name. So what happens during installation is your custom setting.config kind of gets created based on the parameters that you have set. So if I open it, it should say that it is the instance name is, oh sorry, the SQL Server name is this, the SQL Server instance is this, and the database name is this. But it should also say what is my instance name, which is here. Server instance is called demo bc22. So whatever we provided in our installation option, that created the service tier. Now visualize this, that now you are sitting on a different computer where you want to host your uh, web client application, which is called web server instance. Now you can have the web server instance and server instance in the one machine. That's completely okay. If you want to have them differently, that's also okay. So this time I'll run the setup again. You don't see this screen if you're not installing that on the same service tier machine. If you're installing on the another machine, you again see the accepting license, choose installation options and all. So I'll do, and in this time I'm going to install the web server component. This will host the website on my IIS, and I have no clue is I have IIS on this machine or not yet. Is it IIS or ISS? No, IIS, sorry. My bad. I don't see that here yet. So I'm pretty sure this will be able to install those components which are not installed on this machine. So I'll just change this to run from my computer, hit next. My server computer name is this. My instance name, because it's on the same server, it was able to read it. Demo BC22. Port numbers are more or less same. These are coming from the previous one, so you don't see them typically. You don't need these while you're installing web server component. The only setting that you'll see is this, the port number, and do you want to install the IIS prerequisite. Do you want to install them? Do you want to skip them based on it? Uh, The best option is to choose install. If it is already found, it will not do that. When you're installing it on a separate computer, you will only see these settings, just the service name and all, and then directly this setting. Let's hit apply, and now it is going and scanning is the IIS is installed or not, and if yes, are the features which are needed for Business Central website to be hosted are enabled or not. If they are not, it is going to install them, I'm hoping. And I'm doing this on a Windows Server 2019, I guess. I hope it should work. But in the meantime, just one more setting, because I have not installed this database from the installation media. I separately restored this database. So I need to make sure that the account that I have set to run services, which is my network service account, which I don't see here, have permission to access this database. So let's try to bring that in, and let me see network service. Let me search for it. Okay, network service. Okay, and then I'll just hit OK. It might end it. Oh, it added it. So the account, this account is set to run the services. And how I know that? Because I remember it during the installation. If you don't, just head up to your services.msc where your middle tier is, and search for Microsoft Dynamics. Here it is. So if you look at it, the service is not running and it is configured to log on as network service. Network service. So that account, you need to come to your SQL Server and make sure that this user have a mapping against your database, which is this, and also have a DB owner permission to kind of read write data into it. Let's hit OK, and let's try to start this service. And once it gets started, your connection between your service tier and your SQL Server database is established. And then we can move toward our next step, which is currently being installed. And if you see, it's kind of installing each and every component that's needed one by one, and enabling those features if they are not enabled. So even on the server operating system, I didn't have to kind of do each component separately. It was just part of the installation media that it got installed. So when everything looks okay, it should have an IIS, which I can see now. So I'm pretty sure it's configured and it is trying to set up the Business Central website at this moment. So let's have a look what's happening. There's no Business Central yet, so let's wait for it. Okay, let's see. This is installed and we also got an error message, but we'll deal with it in a while. Let's refresh the sites and see, do we have the site? Oh, now we have the site for Business Central, and we can see that there is an instance created called demo BC22. So somewhere I forgot to change the name, but that's okay. That's just the name of the instance or the website that's hosted. And if you explore this, you'll see where it has been placed in your CINet pub, www root, and then the folder name tells you what instance you are in. But let's come back to the error message. Could not process. Okay, did not respond. Let's, oh, it actually started. It didn't said it, but it started. Okay, so if everything looks good, we should be able to access our Business Central environment by managing or browsing this website. So let's have a look. Localhost 8080, which is an unsecured port of demo BC22, should be able to show us the website that we have created with the web server installation component. Now that being said, that more or less completes how you install different components on different machines. Just to make sure that the screens may look a little bit different if you are installing on different computer. In my case, it was around maintenance. In your case, it'll be about installing components. And as we discussed in the video, remember that the root path of your product DVD should be as smaller and as near to the root or the main drive that it can be accessed. One thing. Second, you can use the demo instance or the free edition of SQL Server for development and testing purposes, but for production, buy SQL Server and install that. You can just restore your database directly if needed, and then install the components that you need either on one single machine or on different machines as needed. So at the max, there can be three machines, one for your SQL Server, one for your service tier, and one for your IIS. And you can have multiple service tier on multiple machine or multiple web server instances on multiple machines. That's just based on your configuration. Um, at the end of the day, remember that one server instance will always connect to one database, and you can have multiple server instances pointing to the single database. So hope this helps or answers the question of the person who asked this question. If you learned something new, do share this video with your friends and colleagues. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so that you keep getting updates whenever a new video is posted. And I'll see you in the next video sooner than later. Thank you.